Alright, welcome back everybody. Here we are with our next shipment of Warhammer Imperium magazines. This month of March we have included issues 4, 5, 6, and 7. The video's a little late. These were shipped out actually a little late, and then I was a little busy with work and real life stuff, so I didn't get much time to get to these. But today we'll be taking a look at issue 4, and we're actually going ahead and seeing the real value that comes with the Imperium Magazine subscription with this issue. We also, as well, with this package, received the free gifts for the subscription, which are these here. Bottle of Citadel's plastic glue. I've actually never used Citadel plastic glue. I always use Tamiya extra thin cement for plastic, and then just off-brand super glue from the store for things with resin or metal. So I've heard that the needle here does get clogged easily. I'll give that a try, see how that works out for me. It's plastic glue, I'm sure it'll work out fine. We've got our mold line remover, which this here isn't actually the one that they sell on the website. It seems like it's the head bit from that, but not the full tool. The one from the website, it looks like there's a handle that attaches here on this end. It looks like this is essentially missing that piece, but taking a look at the website, it does show the mold line remover tool as being just this piece here without that handle there. So it's not that easy to use with that little small tab without an actual handle. You might be able to just strap something on there to make it a bit easier to hold on to. It's not very sharp, so I don't know how well it will be for removing mold lines. I normally take an X-Acto knife and I'll use the back end here as opposed to the sharp end to remove mold lines, and of course this you have a much longer handle to have better leverage. So we'll try out that mold line remover as well, see how that works out. And then we get a pair of nippers, and these are Citadel branded nippers. I haven't even taken them out of the packaging. So they look sharp. Got a flat edge on there. So we'll be trying these out as well. I'm sure they'll be good. They're just a set of nippers. I never really cut too close on the miniatures with these. I'll use the hobby knife or something like that to get in a little bit closer. These actually look like they've got a little bit of residue on them. I wonder why. I'll clean those up as well. But the real value here, those are just nice, interesting throw-ins, is beginning with issue 4 itself, is what we see here. Now, we're going to open this up and take a closer look at all of it, but this is really where we're beginning to see the value. So I'll crack this open. I'll try to move it away from the mic because the crackling of the plastic always gets picked up so easily. On here, and remove everything from the plastic. Get rid of them. Now we have the issue itself. The issue itself, again, everyone's heard my gripes that watch my videos with the binding on these. I'm still waiting on those binders to be shipped to me so I can put them all together, so my magazines are no longer falling apart. These will have more stories about the Imperium, a lot of it really tying into the Necrons and Space Marines, because that's the most prominent featured miniatures in these issues that are being shipped out. And then how to build your Scorpec destroyers and your one Canoptech plasma sight. And then we also have what seems to be the full-size playmat, reversible full-size playmat, Mars-style industrial world with the red desert kind of planet on one side, and then it reverses, and on the inside, and I'll just get a peek here, we have, oh, I thought it was just a gray kind of industrial planet, but it looks to be more like a moon with craters with some industrial works on there. So that's interesting. Just a nice table mat to use to play games on. That's nice to see, especially with the first issue. They included that very small mat, very tiny to play your first scenario on. So this will be good to play bigger games or bigger scenarios that are included in the issue. And again, I just tap the issue and the cover falls right off. I'm really not a fan of that. I really wish that they just sent the binders along the first package so you could just throw them all in there right away. But again, I've said my piece about that plenty. Here we have how to build your Necron miniatures in this box, how to paint them in some way. Again, this is super geared towards beginners, so a lot of times the painting guides have you painting directly over the plastic without priming it, things like that. Just like with your Marines, you got some Marines previous, they gave you some Macragge blue, paint them up over the regular gray plastic, put the Macragge blue over, and then in this issue we received a pot of lead belcher, which is a metallic silver paint. That's useful to have. These pots are about $4 or so in my area, so having one of these tossed in is always nice to have. And then here we have where you would want to put that metallic paint on your Space Marines that you have from previous issues, and on your Scorpec destroyers, which you get in this issue. They have you painting the body Rune Lord brass, which we got in a previous issue, and then painting the weapons in lead belcher in this issue here. And I believe in the back here we do have another small scenario to play with the miniatures that you have so far from the collection, and on that larger table mat, so it seems. But the real value is this sprue right here. And I went ahead and did some research, and it looks like this sprue is the exact same sprue that you receive in the regular Scorpec destroyers and Plasmacite box, which is something to the tune of $60 USD directly from Games Workshop. So being able to pick this issue up, if you're able to get it off the shelves or if you've got it in your subscription, $14 for the issue itself, which is a nice read, the playmat, a pot of paint, and a sprue that's the equivalent of a $60 Games Workshop miniature box is quite the value. And this is what I was hoping to see, and I'm happy to see it coming out of Imperium Magazine now. The previous few issues we didn't speak about value too much. There's some value to be had in some of them, but none were as nice value added as these are. And apparently these are also easy to build, but I did get the glue as well, so I'm gonna go ahead and snip these out, throw them up on the spinning platform that I have, and we'll take a closer look at them as well. And then your bases here, and this is another nice indicator of the added value. These are quite large bases. The little Plasmacite guy here comes on this much smaller one. As an example, I have a Space Marine Scout right here, and as you can see, his base is dwarfed by the bases for the Scorpec destroyers included in this issue. So that tells us that these are going to be quite large miniatures. He's actually on the tiny base that the Plasmacite will go on. Actually, it's about a millimeter difference. It's a little bit bigger for the Plasmacite. This is the old classic, I believe, 28mm base that Space Marines were originally on. So we'll get those snipped out and built up, and we'll take a closer look at them, and we'll be back with that. Alright, and we're back with our Scorpec destroyers push fit together here. And I gotta say, these are some very nicely detailed models. They're very interesting looking with their 3 legs and their crazy scythe blades. And the little Plasmacite is an interesting little new unit I haven't seen before either, that looks like a cross between a Scarab Swarm and something else, and it seems to be a support unit. These guys look awesome. As I said earlier, the value in this issue of Imperium Magazine is great, as this box of miniatures itself is something about $60 if you were to buy it directly from Games Workshop. Of course, we get the added benefit of having the lead belcher paint as well to help us paint our Necrons. I'll always take any little pot of paint added. I'm not the biggest fan of GW's potted paints as opposed to dropper bottles, but paint is paint and I'm going to use it. The details on these are really nice, as I said. I just wish that the heads were a little less regular Necron-y. These, I read in the issue that they're kind of crazy, and they use the plasma site to take the crazy out of other Necrons and put the crazy into these Necrons, so they're bloodthirsty, killing machines that scuttle forth on the battlefield looking for anything living to kill, and that the Necron High Lords and Nobles are kind of scared of them because they don't want to get their crazy from them, which is interesting compared to the old lore that I'm used to, where all Necrons are pretty much mindless automata and only the leaders actually have any sentient thoughts, which is different, but that is lore from 20 years ago with the 3rd edition codex, I believe. I went ahead and built these with the new nippers. I would say these aren't my favorite, but they get the job done. I went ahead and used them to nip the pieces further away from the piece itself and leave quite a decent nub on the miniature itself that I just use my X-Acto knife to cut off and then smooth out. And then, as I said, I use the back of my X-Acto knife to scrape mold lines off. I did not use the mold line remover just because I forgot. So I'll be testing this out. It looks like it'll do exactly the same thing. It's just a flat metal surface to scrape off mold lines. And there weren't too many mold lines at all on these miniatures anyway, which is good. The less mold lines, the less cleanup to do. I just put the push fit them together. Be careful when doing that, especially with any of these Necrons. All these little spindly spine bits would be easy to snap off. The arms are very thin, they'd be easy to snap. I didn't snap anything. These little appendages, the proboscis on the plasma site, I'd imagine would be very easy to snap, so I was just very, very careful with that. I have not used the Citadel plastic glue. I just push fit these together, but it's plastic glue. I'm assuming it'll work just like plastic glue does. So I'll be taking a look at that with other miniatures. But again, the value is there. I don't know how competitive the Scorpec destroyers are on the tabletop. They have pretty good movement. I think 8-inch movement, D something, 2d6 attack, something like that. I'm not sure, I could be wrong. I read the data sheet in the issue, and I'm not sure if they can board any of the Necron transports, the Monolith or the Ghost Ark barge thing. Again, I'm not very familiar with any of the new units from the Necron Codex or Army, as I actually don't have the Codex as of yet, but they look very cool, and I'm not going to be playing anything very competitive, so I'll be taking a look at these, painting them up, and maybe fielding them in the Army. If not, they'll go in the display case painted up, because they just look very nice and are very nice sculpts. So if this is a set of miniatures that you're interested in looking for, go ahead and pick them up. This issue is $14.95. If you find it at your local Barnes & Noble or anywhere else on the shelf, it's actually really good value. I would suggest picking it up if you're a Necron player, if you're interested in Scorpec destroyers, or if you just want to paint them up as a nice project or something like that, because the price is so cheap compared to the box from GW, and they're just really nice sculpts. And then you get the pot of paint, which is always nice as an include. I know that the tools here, the mold line remover, the nipper, and the plastic glue are the kind of free gifts from the subscription, so I just wanted to take a look at those, but you wouldn't be getting these if you were to pick this up off your local store's shelf, but you still get that provided value. But again, those are my thoughts here on issue 4 of Imperium Magazine. Feel free to like and subscribe. I'm gonna have more content coming. I just did that video on the April Fool's joke with the squats returning, and then yesterday, you know what, GW said it's April 2nd and we're still saying the squats are returning. So we get the Leagues of Votann, which will be a new faction in Warhammer 40K, which is great. I think that squats in some form returning with the leagues and fleshing out their lore more would be very interesting. So I'm happy to see that, and any new miniatures, any new factions to bring more people into the hobby is great in my opinion. But there you have it. That's issue 4 of Imperium Magazine. The contents, the value, which I think is great, and then the added news, we get the squats returning. Alright, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.